Welcome to this episode of the Leading in Dentistry podcast. I'm Dr. Wes Eggett. After spending the last 20 years in a variety of leadership positions, and as a student of leadership myself, I started Leading in Dentistry to share what I found and to continue learning with you. If anything from this episode stands out, check out the show notes, our online courses, or one-on-one coaching on leadingindentistry.com. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Leading in Dentistry podcast. I'm Dr. Wes Eggett. For those of you new to the podcast, I am a practicing associate dentist just outside of Denver, Colorado, and I started Leading in Dentistry to help develop the leadership skills of each team member in the dental office, not just the business owner. And I started this podcast specifically while I'm not an owner of any dental practice, as I really want to get across the message that you don't need to wait until you're in charge to be a leader. And in this episode of the podcast, I want to dedicate it to a position in the office that we really haven't had a lot of time to dive into, and that is the team lead. Whether you are the lead assistant or the lead hygienist or the lead person at the front desk, the team lead position is such a unique position in the office that it requires some specific skills that the rest of the positions do not. So whether you are a team lead yourself, or if you are a member of one of these teams and one day may become a team lead, or if you are an office manager or an associate dentist or the owner dentist yourself, it is important to know what type of unique challenges that the team lead faces so that you can either prepare yourself to one day perhaps step into that role, or that you are prepared to properly lead and direct and supervise that role. And so in order to go over what the team lead needs to do, I broke it down into three specific things. And lucky for us, they all start with the letter E. So these are the three E's of being a team lead. They are first, example; second, execute; and third, experience. So one more time, that is example, execute, and experience. And as we hit each of these items, we'll go through the subheadings, so either example, execute, or experience, and then we'll talk about some ways that we can see that in action. So first, let's talk about example. There are a couple of different ways that I want the team lead to be an example. The first is to show competence in their skills. So the team lead, if they're the lead assistant, they should be competent in all of the skills of the assistants that they supervise. That way, A, it allows them to have credibility with the people that they're leading, but B, if that team member is needing help with something, then the lead assistant can step in and show them how to do that particular skill, train them so that they can do it by themselves the next time. So the first thing under example is being competent in your skills. The second idea under example is to act with poise and professionalism when stressed. You have to be an example on how people should act when they come across the stressors that are inherent in working in dentistry. Regardless of whether you are in the front office or the back office, there are constantly things in dentistry when we're working with people that can be thrown at you, things that are unexpected, and you have to be able to roll with those punches. You cannot constantly be caught up in the huffing and the puffing about things in your day not going the way that you expected. Everyone's going to do that inherently, but the team lead needs to rise above that. They need to be an example on how to act with poise and professionalism. So when we are talking about being an example as a team lead, first, we show competence in our skills. Second, we act with poise and professionalism when stressed. And then the third is advocate for the vision of the leadership team. Now, we know that there is a difference between the vision and the mission of a team, and the vision is more the way that we are doing certain things, how we are acting. The mission is the actual metrics and the goals that we're setting, what we're out to accomplish. But that vision, if you are an example, you have to advocate for the vision of the leadership team. You are an example of what it is that we're really working towards. What is the North Star that we're going for? Being an example is believing in what it is that the team is doing, or that the clinic is doing, or that the practice is doing. So as the lead of other team members, you have to be the example of someone who is believing and working towards that vision. All right, so we talked about there are three E's of team leads: example, execute, and experience. So far, we've gone over example. And under example, we need to make sure that we are an example of showing competence in our skills, an example of acting with poise and professionalism when stressed, and then an example of advocating for the vision of the leadership team. And this gives us a good transition into the next E, which is execute. So first is example, next is execute. Under execute, we just talked about advocating for the vision of the leadership team. Now, under execute, we are carrying out the mission of the leadership team. When we are talking about executing on goals and missions, that is the idea of the team lead. They can't just be a good example on how things should be, but they actually have to be an example of achieving results. So the first is carrying out the mission of the leadership team. The second is leading your team to deliver results and to meet those goals. Anyone who's listened to this podcast or anything from Leading in Dentistry long enough knows that a big thing for me in leadership is helping people develop as people. That leadership provides a laboratory and an opportunity for us to be tested and tried and worked on so that we can become better people. And that's the thing that I love most about leadership. But part of doing that is accomplishing the metrics, accomplishing the goals, achieving results. If you're someone who achieves, that doesn't necessarily make you a leader, but a leader does have to be someone who achieves results. So under the E of execute, so far we have carry out the mission of the leadership team and then also lead your team to deliver results and meet goals. The final idea under execute is to follow through on commitments to team and leaders. So this is a little bit different than achieving results and meeting goals, but following through on commitments. As a team lead throughout the day, you're going to have so many people come to you with problems and questions, and you say, I'll get back to you on that. Or if a leader comes and says, I need you to do X, Y, or Z, you say, absolutely, I can take care of that. But how many times by the end of the day you knew you were going to do that thing, but you ended up not actually doing it? When you execute, you have to follow through on those commitments to team and leaders. Because with the team, it's going to help build credibility. If you want them to follow you, you have to be able to close the loop on things that you've committed to. And with the leadership team that oversees your work, you want them to be able to trust that they can delegate things to you, that you are actually going to get the job done, that you are going to carry out the mission and deliver results. And in order to give them that confidence, following through on the commitments that you make helps throughout the day build little areas of trust that they can rely on when they need you to do something in the future. Just a quick interruption here. If you are gaining some value from this podcast, if you enjoy it in any way, if you think someone else could benefit from it, then go ahead and share this with a friend, share it with your team, share it with a colleague. It really helps support the show. Now let's get back to it. So far, we've talked about 2 of the 3 E's of being a team lead. The first was example, the second is execute, and the final E of being a team lead is experience. And just like with the other E's of being a team lead, there are a couple of different ways that we can see this manifest itself in the team lead position. So the first is to create a positive work environment for the team. You want to give them a good experience when they come to work. The focus of the team is to make sure that there's a good patient experience, but you as the team lead are responsible for the team's experience. One of my favorite teachings from Simon Sinek is when he talks about the transition from being someone on the team to being the leader in charge of the team. He says that just because you are good at your job and then you get a promotion over that job doesn't mean you'll be good at being the leader over that job. When you were good at that job, you knew how to operationally accomplish the things that that position needed. But that doesn't necessarily mean when being put into a position of leadership that you're going to be good overseeing the people that are doing that job. At one point, you're responsible for the job, and then you become responsible for the people who are responsible for the job. And when you think about the responsibility of a frontline dental employee, you are responsible for the patient experience. But as the team lead, you now transition to being responsible for the staff experience. So the first item on focusing on experience, that E of being a team lead, is creating a positive work environment for the team, seeing that your team members are now your customers, creating a good experience for them so they feel like coming to work and giving it their all. Another teaching from Simon Sinek that I say in almost every episode is that the role of the leader is to create an environment where your team can work at their natural best. And when you understand what it is that's going to help them feel like they can work at their natural best, you can provide an experience for them where they want to come back, where they want to work with you, where they want to work for you. The second item on experience is to provide patients with a positive experience. So yes, you did have to do that as the frontline employee. Now you're responsible for the experience of the team, but that doesn't change the fact that you still are responsible over what the team does and their job in helping patients feel a positive experience. You're also, going back to being an example, you are providing an example of the experience that people should be giving the patients in the office. And so as the team lead, you can show them how that position specifically has an effect on the patient's experience. And giving patients a good experience will look different depending on what position you play in the dental office. So being able to take a team member and show them how to give patients a good experience, give them an example on how to do that, is also critical to your job as the team lead. Now, the third item under this third E of experience is a little bit different. The first two things we talked about for experience were focusing on the experience that people have. So what experience does the team have when they're at work? What experience do the patients have while they're in the office? This is not necessarily about the experience that people have, but this third item is the experience that people gain. So as a team lead, you need to see yourself as a trainer and as a teacher, and you help the team gain experience and develop skills. This is another reason, going back to the beginning, that it's important to be competent in your skills as the team lead, because you will be training people and giving them experience as they are working on your team. And as you do that, you're constantly seeing yourself as teaching who is going to come after me, who could replace me. If I were gone for the day, how can things not fall apart? But also if something happens to my career path and I go somewhere else, or I need to leave, or someone else needs to step up for something, would they be properly trained in order to do that? As a team lead or as a leader of any kind, part of your position is to help the business be resilient to curveballs that might be thrown at it. And by having more trained, capable people, you allow the business to be flexible when things are starting to fall apart, when you need someone else to lean on, or when you need someone to delegate something to. So let's go back to the beginning with the 3 E's of being a team lead. First, example. Show competence in your skills, act with poise and professionalism when you are stressed, and then advocate for the vision of the leadership team. Each of those things provides an example for other team members on what they should do, how they should act, and what vision they should have. The second E was execute, and under execute we talked about carrying out the mission of the leadership team, leading your team to deliver results and meet goals, and then following through on commitments to team and leaders. So when you are someone who gets results, you are not necessarily a leader, but a leader must be someone who is able to get results. And following through on commitments to team and leaders helps people to continuously build trust and find you as someone who is reliable and dependable. It'll help the team come to you when they need help. It'll help the leaders come to you when they need something solved because they know they can depend on you. And the third E is experience. You have to focus on creating a positive work environment, a positive work experience for the team. You have to focus on providing the patients with a positive experience in the office. And finally, focusing not necessarily on the experience that people have, but the experience that people can gain by working with you in the office. Help the team gain experience and develop skills, helping the team become more trained and raising the average level of the employees on your team and the team that you are working with. I hope that looking at the team lead position from the perspective of these 3 E's helps break it down in a way that is manageable and helps you wrap your mind around what it is that you can do as a team lead in order to be better at your position. And also from those who are looking to one day be a team lead or those who are supervising a team lead. Focusing on these 3 E's can help you know what it is that you're supposed to be working towards or what you're supposed to be helping manage. Focusing on the example, the execution, and the experience. And with that, always be leading and always be learning. We'll see you next time. And that's it for this episode of the Leading in Dentistry podcast. If you learned something today, please leave a 5-star review and share the episode with a friend. If you're ready to take the next step for yourself or provide leadership training for a team member, visit leadingindentistry.com to check out our online courses and one-on-one coaching.